Today we're going to be looking at the September patch in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. I got the footage and broke it down for you guys so we can figure out what exactly makes this patch so significant. So first off, the devs have claimed to figure out a way to curtail the idle BP farmers, so hopefully the clip you're seeing up on the screen right now will be a thing of the past. This patch also introduces a new weather phenomenon, fog, and let me tell you guys, it is very, very foggy. Visibility will be very low, and it will relegate most of the fights to being relatively close in range. Also, the skybox textures in the other weather variants has gotten a facelift and they all look significantly better. And a whole new town has been added to the island just to the east of Stalber. It's called Kamishki on the map. It's a pretty significantly sized town, not quite as big as the big ones like Yasnaya or Pachinki, but it might make the trip to the northeast of the island worthwhile. Now obviously the big thing everyone's talking about this patch, as with previous patches, is the new weapon. It is called a Mini 14. It fires 5.56 ammunition. It is a semi-automatic marksman rifle. The devs claim it does relatively low damage, but it actually still packs a significant punch, and its muzzle velocity is incredibly high. Stay tuned for a full OCD breakdown of this weapon. And in terms of weapons, the Tommy gun is no longer a care package drop, joining the Mini 14 as a weapon that now spawns on the island. The Tommy gun can be found without its larger magazine and without its wooden stock built in, and it looks more like the Thompson you would see in World War II. And finally, the crossbows now reload 35% faster, perhaps making a battle crossbow a little bit more viable. The patch notes say that recoil animations are different on all weapons and that horizontal recoil has been dampened slightly. Hard to say for sure, it could just be psychosomatic, but it does feel like the recoil is maybe a bit softer and a little bit easier to mitigate. And now if you drop a weapon, it will remember what its last fire mode was set to. So if you pick up a vector, set it to full auto, drop it on the ground and pick it back up, well, that weapon is still going to be in full auto. And now when you're reloading those weapons, you can change your stance, crouch, prone, crouch, stand up, all of that, and you will not cancel your reload animation. And if you're zeroed in on a target at range, but someone up close surprises you, clicking in on your middle mouse button will reset your zeroing to the lowest value. The position of the report window has been moved over to the left, and you can now disable the character that is rendered on your inventory screen, perhaps a slight performance boost for players playing on lower spec rigs. And for those players playing on lower specs, shadows are now rendered at the same distance regardless of your shadow settings. There is now an option to choose the transition from free look to player aim, whether it's interpolated or an instant snap. And you can even now customize your crosshair color, go to your heart's content, though there are a few presets to select. Perhaps eventually in the future you'll be able to set the RGB values directly. And there's now key binding to immediately mark your position on the map. Good if you find something that you want to come back to, but you don't have time to open your map. And now when the map is open, there's a keybind to center the map on your player, spacebar by default. So in the heat of the moment, if you need to figure out exactly where you are, it might be a bit quicker to do so. And nameplates for teammates now appropriately track that player's heights, the nameplates lowering when a player crouches or prones. And now there's a double tap feature for leaning that combines both holding and toggle leaning. If you just press and release, it'll just be a hold, but if you double tap the lean button, it will toggle lean on. And speaking of lean, now if you start sprinting while you're leaning, it will cancel your lean and enter the sprint. And while you're sprinting, you will actually still regenerate your breath. And speaking of breath, if you're knocked out and make your way underwater, your breath meter is going to fall very quickly, and then you're going to take increased damage. There's a new bind to consume med kits, first aid kits, or bandages. It will actually prioritize the most effective form of healing first, and it will just automatically apply that. And there's now new keybinds to consume specific types of consumables, whether it's an energy drink, painkillers, or adrenaline syringe. And there's even new sounds when you're consuming said consumables. The audible ranges on reloading have been increased. I've mentioned this before, they used to be incredibly short. Now you can hear someone reloading from a relatively realistic distance away. And they've also overhauled the audible ranges for window breaking. You can again hear windows being broken from a relatively reasonable distance away. And they've added a new sound effect for when you hit a player with your vehicle. Take a listen to it here. And finally, in terms of sound, there's a new sound effect for when you pull the pin on a grenade, which you can hear here. And they've actually overhauled the entire grenade system. Now, when you take out a grenade, you can throw it faster. It's easier. When you hold down the button to throw it, you prep it, but you don't actually automatically cook the grenade. And because of that, you can put it away safely. If you wish to cook the grenade, you can hit a special button. Currently, it defaults to R to begin cooking it, at which point you must throw the grenade. And while you're in this position, you can toggle with right mouse button between overhand throw and a lighter underhand toss. Now, the movement speed of your character now affects your grenade's trajectory. That used to not be the case, but now if you run and jump with your grenade, you will get a bit more distance out of it. And flash grenades explode a bit quicker. At 2.5 seconds, they explode, making them a little bit more useful in a tactical situation. And frag grenades do more damage to a larger area, making them much more effective. Now, not specifically in the patch notes, but due to some clever data miners, we do have our first look at the desert map as shown here. Again, this is a work in progress. Expect this to change pretty drastically. And thanks to some other clever data miners, it appears as though the devs are working on a mechanism to allow you to hold to aim down sights as opposed to toggle, though it's not fully operational yet. Hopefully we'll be seeing that patched in the future. Guys, there's a lot more changes I didn't get a chance to mention here because they don't necessarily translate to a visual medium or because they're relatively small and I didn't think they're that important. But go ahead and check out the full patch notes if you want to see everything. There's a few more performance optimizations, balance changes, and other fixes. I want to give a shout out to Suicidal Baby. His Twitch is in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more OCD content. Leave a comment if I got anything wrong. I'm Magnum Dopus. Keep crunching those numbers.